To fill up your tank, you don't necessarily need to cringe, believe it or not. AAA says the average gallon of gas today, $3.60. You see there, it's basically exactly where we were this time last year. But for those of you firing up your grills who plan on doing this weekend, the average barbecue for a family right now is in the area of $30. That is up roughly 10% from last year. And if we zoom out, go back to Memorial Day weekend 2021, the first Memorial Day for President Biden in office, you can see how prices have climbed. Gas, for example, up 28%. Your airfare right around that number as well. Meat up 19%. Your favorite drink probably in the area of around 11% or so. So that's sort of the lay of the land here, Chris, on sort of the number one issue that we're going to be following over the next handful of months or so.
Well, first, I want to apologize to everybody for what I've done myself to meat prices, for what I'm putting away. I know that I'm part of that, and I accept my role. For the president, here's the reality. Who does inflation hit first? The working class, right? People who are in the lower quintiles of the workforce. They feel it first because they have the least amount of disposable income. Who stops feeling it last? Those same people. And the reality for Joe Biden that he and his team are confronting every day is that around the country, these are the voters he needs to come home. He needs these voters to come back. They should be, a lot of these should be his voters. And I understand why they resent the status quo and they're eager for change.
What are they saying in Georgia right now?
Well, exactly what Chris said. But the other problem for Biden is there's just not a lot he can do.
Right.
You know, at the end of the day, we're a country that prides itself off letting businesses pretty much leave them to their own devices.
Free market principles, right?
Free market principles. So they, you know, a lot of ways set their own prices, particularly, you know, things that aren't so. There are market forces, yes, in the pandemic and the shortages and all of that stuff. Gas is another thing because there are international markets to deal with. But at the end of the day, there's very little for the president to put his finger and say, do this and drop prices, but he gets all the blame.
Like any other president does. But I will say this, local gas stations in any jurisdiction have a lot to say on their price. And corporate greed or corporate price raising also has to be factored into this whole inflation piece and the emotional disconnect between it. Because wages, if you look at wages economically, they're up. And if you throw in the pandemic and the money that was poured into the economy, people may be frustrated, but they have more money and these prices are rising and they have a pretty decent outlook towards their future. Not everyone, but most of the polling says they have a decent outlook because they have more money.
I hear you. Look to your left because it's coming for you right there. I see it.
I'm pretty sure you're not looking to my left.
Don't look.
This is where they placed me. All right, Carly, let me have it.
Well, I think Joe Biden's already doing better. I'm reminded of the tweet that they had when they, for 4th of July, like they got to save 70 cents on a hot dog. I mean, that was so deaf to the reality. You can say prices are better, this, that, the other thing. The reality is people aren't feeling that. People are not feeling like they're going to the grocery store and saving a ton of money. And that's the reality. So a lot of the times the White House will point to these statistics. You hear Joe Biden now talking about the stock market for the first time and how great that's doing or whatever. It doesn't matter. People are not feeling that they're saving money. They feel like this economy is not working for them. And unfortunately, on Memorial Day weekend, it's just a sad thing for them to have to deal with.
The Republicans are the people who came to the kegger in the backyard, flipped over all the lawn furniture, threw the lawn furniture in the pool, made this huge mess with the Democrats because there was a bipartisan orgy of spending.
Yes, I agree.
Stimulus after stimulus after stimulus because nobody wanted to see the economy contract during the pandemic. And now we're living in the aftermath, and the Republicans are like, I don't know how this. Who put that in the pool? I have no idea, Joe Biden.
This isn't the first inflationary period we've lived through, regardless of how old you are. And so this is the first time I believe I felt that emotional disconnect from statistics and then what's really going on at the dinner table.
The last time we had persistent inflation in the 1960s and 1970s, it was a punishing blow to both parties. And it was the #1 issue that drove elections 1968, 1972, 1976, and it went on and on and on.
Thank you for watching. And make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.